In the heart of a small town called Willow Creek, nature thrived in harmony with the people who lived there. The town was nestled between rolling green hills and thick, lush forests, where wild horses galloped freely. Their powerful hooves thundered against the soft earth, and their manes floated like waving flags in the gentle breeze. It was a place where children played under the wide, open sky, and families gathered in gardens filled with blooming flowers. As dusk approached, a warm golden glow began to spread across the fields. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that danced along the ground. The air was sweet and fragrant, filled with the scent of wildflowers and fresh grass. Birds chirped their evening songs, and crickets began their nightly chorus, adding to the soothing sounds of nature. From the far side of town, a beaten path led into the forest, winding its way between towering trees that seemed to touch the sky. The leaves rustled softly as the wind whispered through them, creating a comforting melody. This was a haven for adventure, and many children often explored its secrets. In that peaceful moment, it felt as if time stood still. As the sunlight began to fade, the sky transformed into a canvas of deep oranges and purples. It was during this magical time when the town often felt its most serene. However, as the beauty of dusk unfolded, it also marked a moment of unease for one little boy named Tommy. Tommy was an adventurous child, his eyes shining with curiosity as he raced out of his home that afternoon. He loved exploring the woods on the outskirts of town, always anxious to discover something new and exciting. But today was different. He had wandered farther than he ever had before, captivated by the sights and sounds around him. With each step deeper into the forest, he became more entranced by the flickering fireflies that began to dot the landscape like tiny stars on earth. However, as dusk settled in, Tommy turned around only to find that the warm light of home was no longer visible. Panic crept into his heart as reality struck him. He was lost. The cool evening breeze sent shivers down his spine as he wandered through the trees, searching for familiar landmarks. But all he found were shadows stretching ominously around him, making every branch appear like an outstretched hand in the fading light. "Help!" he called out softly, his voice trembling. But there was only silence in return. Just as fear began to overwhelm him, a movement caught his eye, a flicker of motion among the trees. Tommy turned to see a wild horse stepping gracefully into view. Its coat gleamed like polished mahogany in the dying light, and its mane flowed like silk. The horse stopped a short distance away, its dark eyes fixed on Tommy with an expression that seemed curious rather than wary. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. The lost boy and the wild horse in an enchanting forest filled with secrets and shadows. In that stillness, surrounded by nature's beauty, and at a time when day transformed into night, an important journey was about to begin. Little did Tommy know that this unexpected encounter would change everything for him and his townsfolk. Tommy was known in Willow Creek as a little boy with a heart full of adventure. With bright blue eyes that sparkled with curiosity and a mop of tousled brown hair, he was always the first to suggest exploring the woods or discovering hidden treasures. Today, as he played with his friends near the edge of their favorite play area, a bubbling stream, the sun shone brightly, painting golden light across the land. Laughter filled the air as they chased each other, their voices ringing like tiny bells. But Tommy's mind was filled with thoughts of adventure. He had heard tales from older kids about mysterious paths that twisted deeper into the forest, where magical creatures were said to dwell. When his friends decided it was time to go home for dinner, Tommy couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. He waved goodbye and ventured right into the woods, fueled by excitement and a hint of mischief. At first, he felt exhilarated as he flitted between trees and over roots. The forest cloaked him in cool shadows, while rays of sunlight peeked through the leaves, creating playful patterns on the ground. He imagined himself as a brave explorer, discovering long-lost worlds hiding just beyond his reach. As he walked further in, he stumbled upon a meadow filled with vibrant wildflowers. The sight took his breath away, and he knelt down to breathe in the sweet perfume of nature that surrounded him. Time slipped away as Tommy lost himself in the beauty of his surroundings, completely unaware of how far he had wandered. He spun around to pick flowers, his laughter ringing out like music in the crisp evening air. When he turned to head back to his friends, however, confusion washed over him. Every direction he glanced seemed foreign. The once familiar trees now looked like tall giants looming over him. The thrill of exploration quickly faded, replaced by a sinking feeling in his stomach. Panic started to bubble within him as he called out for his friends, "Alden, Lucy!" His voice echoed back without any reply, leaving only silence in place of the laughter he had enjoyed just moments before. The shadows lengthened around him and took on shapes that felt haunting in the fading light. As dusk deepened, waves of loneliness crashed over Tommy like heavy clouds. Every step he took only seemed to lead him further away from the cheerful sounds of home. Even the birds had quieted as if they sensed his despair. The chill of night began to seep into his bones, and Tommy shivered despite himself. The world that had once felt so open now closed in around him. Then suddenly, amidst his worries and fear, something moved nearby. A flickering silhouette caught his eye through a thicket of bushes. With cautious hope, Tommy turned to investigate. He could hardly believe what he saw. A wild horse stepping gracefully into view. Its powerful form stood tall against the twilight backdrop, radiating a strangely comforting energy. Everything seemed to pause as Tommy's heart raced with a mix of fear and wonder. The horse's dark eyes glistened with curiosity as it locked its gaze on him. There was an unspoken connection between them, two souls roaming alone in the wilderness at dusk. In that moment, all his fear faded away, replaced by an adventurous spirit rising within him once again. Little did he know this meeting would mark the beginning of an incredible journey. One that would lead him home, but also teach him something remarkable about friendship and trust along the way. As the sun sank lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Tommy's heart began to race. What had started as an exciting adventure quickly spiraled into a knot of worry. He turned around, hoping to catch a glimpse of something familiar, but everything looked different in the dimming light. The once friendly trees now seemed like towering sentinels, watching him with their dark shapes. Maybe I can just find my way back, he whispered to himself, trying to sound brave. But each step he took only revealed more unfamiliar paths and dense underbrush, further deepening his sense of isolation. The comforting sounds of laughter from his friends faded into a distant memory, replaced by the eerie calls of night creatures beginning to stir. Tommy called out again, "Alden, Lucy!" His voice cracked slightly as it echoed through the trees. Silence swallowed his pleas whole. It felt as if the forest was closing in on him, wrapping him in a heavy shroud of darkness. A cold breeze rustled through the leaves above, sending chills down his spine. He hugged his arms around himself as if to ward off both the chill and the creeping fear. With each passing moment, panic bubbled up inside him like a boiling pot. What if I never find my way home? The thought made his heart pound harder in his chest. It was hard to breathe as other scary thoughts raced through his mind. What if he was stuck here all night? What if wild animals came out looking for food? He shook his head vigorously, trying to chase away those frightening ideas. But they clung to him like shadows. He stumbled upon a small clearing where moonlight filtered through branches overhead. Tommy stood still for a moment, entranced by the sudden beauty of it all. But that wonder quickly turned into dread as he realized how alone he really was. The stars twinkled high above him, like tiny jewels scattered across black velvet. They seemed so far away from where he stood on the forest floor. The darkness began to wrap around him tighter, pressing against his chest until he felt trapped. Tommy's small voice broke through the night air once more as he called out for help one last time. "Is anyone there?" But only silence answered back, echoing his loneliness and reinforcing the fear that gnawed at him. With trembling hands, he brushed away a stray tear that had slipped down his cheek. It felt silly to cry. After all, he was supposed to be an explorer. But sadness flooded over him like waves crashing onto the shore. He missed home, missed his friends who would have laughed at their silly games together. Just when despair threatened to consume him entirely, Tommy suddenly noticed something moving in the distance. A flicker of movement among the trees caught his eye. He squinted into the twilight and saw a shadowy figure step gracefully into view. A wild horse emerging from behind thick bushes. Its presence filled him with awe and curiosity. Maybe this creature could lead him back or offer companionship in this lonely hour. For a brief moment, fear gave way to hope as Tommy stared at this magnificent creature standing before him, a symbol of strength and freedom amid his darkest feelings. Little did he know that this encounter would spark a bond that could guide him safely through the night and beyond. As Tommy stood in the clearing, his heart still racing from fear, he squinted into the fading light. The shadows of the trees danced around him, making the forest seem alive with whispers of the night. Just when he thought all hope was lost, he spotted movement at the edge of the thicket. There, emerging from between the trees, was a wild horse, a majestic creature that seemed to materialize from the very essence of the forest. The horse appeared cautious at first, pausing to observe Tommy with its large, intelligent eyes. Its coat gleamed like polished chestnut in the dimming light, and its mane billowed softly in the evening breeze. Tommy could hardly believe what he was seeing. A wild horse in the woods was more than just a beautiful sight. It felt like a sign that maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. The horse took a tentative step forward, its hooves making barely a sound on the forest floor. Tommy held his breath, afraid that any sudden movement might scare it away. He wanted to reach out, to show that he meant no harm, but he remained still, watching as the creature took a few more steps closer. It sniffed the air, its ears perked up in curiosity, as if it could sense Tommy's mix of fear and wonder. "Hello there," Tommy whispered softly, feeling an overwhelming urge to connect with this magnificent animal. He knew that wild horses were known for their spirit and strength, but in this moment, it felt almost like they were sharing a secret bond. Two beings navigating the unknown together. The horse continued to approach slowly, its cautious steps revealing an innate curiosity about the lost boy standing alone in the twilight. Tommy couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over him. This creature was not just an animal. It seemed like a guardian sent to guide him through his moment of uncertainty. As it moved closer, Tommy noticed how its dark eyes sparkled with curiosity and kindness. The surrounding darkness faded slightly as moonlight began to filter through the canopy above, illuminating the clearing and casting soft shadows around them. The wild horse reached out its snout tentatively, coming within arm's length of Tommy. He dared to extend his trembling hand, palm open, hoping that this beautiful creature would trust him enough to come even closer. With a gentle nuzzle, the horse touched Tommy's hand, sending a surge of warmth through him. In that instant, his fear melted away, replaced by an awe-inspiring sense of connection. It was as if the horse understood his loneliness and was there to offer solace in this unfamiliar world. Tommy looked into the horse's intelligent eyes and felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "Maybe you can help me find my way home," he murmured softly. The horse seemed to listen intently, tilting its head as if considering Tommy's request. After a brief moment, it turned and looked back toward the trail it had emerged from. It glanced at Tommy again, inviting him to follow. The wild horse's movements were graceful and confident as it stepped delicately through the underbrush. Taking a deep breath and gathering his courage, Tommy decided to trust this magnificent creature as he stepped forward to follow. With each step behind the wild horse, he felt a sense of purpose returning to him. In this shared journey through the twilight woods, he knew he had found not just a way back home, but also an unexpected friend who understood his fears and offered him hope amidst the darkness. As the wild horse stepped closer, Tommy felt his heart flutter with a mix of fear and excitement. The moment was surreal. The majestic creature was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Its powerful frame moved gracefully, almost as if it floated above the forest floor. The golden light of dusk highlighted its rich chestnut coat, making it shimmer like polished wood under the fading sunlight. Tommy's nervousness began to fade as he took in the beauty of the horse's flowing mane. It cascaded down its neck like a waterfall, and every gentle sway seemed to whisper promises of comfort and companionship. The horse's long tail swished softly behind it, adding to its elegance. Tommy couldn't help but feel captivated by this majestic animal, which now stood just a few feet away, its presence both calming and exhilarating. The horse's eyes were large and gentle, filled with warmth that seemed to reach right into Tommy's soul. They sparkled with an understanding that made him feel less alone. In those soft eyes, he saw kindness and wisdom. They appeared to know his fears and worries without him having to say a word. As their gazes locked for a moment longer, Tommy felt an unspoken connection between them, a bond forged in shared solitude. Taking a deep breath, he let his anxiety slip away even more. "You're not going to hurt me, are you?" he whispered softly, half asking and half hoping. To his surprise, the horse responded by inching closer still, lowering its head slightly as if offering reassurance. Tommy dared to take a step forward himself, feeling an irresistible pull toward this magnificent creature. With trembling hands, he reached out toward the horse's soft muzzle. His fingers brushed against its warm skin, sending tingles through his body. It felt real. So real that, for a moment, all of his worries faded into the background like distant whispers. It was just him and this beautiful wild horse in that magical moment shared under the twilight sky. Tommy couldn't believe how quickly his fear transformed into joy as he continued to stroke the horse's muzzle gently. The tension in his small body began to melt away completely. Here was a friend who understood him without words, someone who could share this night with him and lead him back home safely. As darkness fell around them like a cozy blanket, Tommy watched as the horse flicked its ears attentively at every sound in the forest. A fierce guardian instinct mixed with curiosity for what lay ahead. He admired how it stood strong, yet relaxed, embodying both power and gentleness all at once. "Maybe we can go on an adventure together," Tommy said aloud with newfound confidence. The thought filled him with excitement as images flooded his mind, imagining riding through fields of flowers or galloping across open plains. The wild horse seemed to sense his eagerness and lifted its head high again as if urging him onward. It took a step back toward the trail from which it had come and looked back at Tommy once more, an invitation to follow. Heart racing with anticipation and hope, now replacing fear entirely, Tommy nodded eagerly. He knew this creature had come into his life for a reason. Together, they would navigate through the darkness of uncertainty toward safety and friendship. With each step behind this beautiful horse, Tommy felt empowered by their unexpected bond. A symbol of strength and friendship amid wilderness adventures awaited just beyond in the shadows of nightfall. As Tommy stood in the clearing, his heart racing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, he felt an overwhelming urge to reach out to the wild horse. The animal's gentle gaze reassured him, filling him with a sense of calm that was hard to resist. With a deep breath, he extended his hand slowly, palm up, toward the magnificent creature before him. To his surprise, the horse didn't shy away. Instead, it took a tentative step closer, its warm breath brushing against Tommy's fingertips. The boy's pulse raced as he felt the soft fur of its muzzle beneath his hand. In that moment, a spark ignited between them. A connection formed not just from touch, but from understanding. They were two beings who had wandered into the unknown, each feeling lost in their own way. Tommy couldn't believe how comforting the horse's presence was. Here was this incredible creature that seemed to know exactly what he needed at that moment: companionship. He gently caressed the horse's soft muzzle, feeling every muscle and sinew beneath its skin. The wild horse leaned into Tommy's touch, as if inviting him to explore their bond further. Their eyes locked for what felt like an eternity, a silent exchange that spoke volumes. Tommy could see reflections of his own fears mirrored in the horse's eyes, moments of uncertainty, a longing for connection, and an unspoken hope for guidance through darkness. It was as if they were both seeking solace from the world around them. "I'm lost," Tommy admitted softly, still caressing the horse's nose. "I don't know how to get back home." The words hung in the air between them like fragile whispers, yet they were filled with honesty and vulnerability, feelings that both shared in their separate journeys. The horse flicked its ears forward as if it understood every word spoken and brushed its muzzle against Tommy's hand once more, deepening this budding friendship even further. In that simple gesture lay an acknowledgement of shared loneliness. Both had found themselves in unfamiliar territory. The wild horse seemed to respond not only to Tommy's touch, but also to his feelings of insecurity and anxiety. "Maybe you feel lost too," Tommy said with a hint of a smile breaking through his earlier fears. This realization made him feel less alone than he had just moments ago. But together, we can find our way. With each stroke along the horse's neck, he felt more grounded, as if they were intertwining their destinies amidst the tall trees. Feeling encouraged by this unexpected connection, Tommy took another step forward, a signal for the horse to follow him down their shared path into the wilderness. The wild horse responded by moving closer still, its powerful frame standing strong beside him like a protector against the unseen dangers lurking amid shadows. With hearts aligned in mutual trust and companionship, Tommy grinned widely at this newfound bond forming between him and his equine friend. He felt inspired by its presence. Together, they could face whatever lay ahead in these woods, an adventure waiting just beyond the embrace of twilight. As they moved deeper into the forest together, side by side like old friends reunited after far too long apart, Tommy realized something profound. Sometimes paths crossed for a reason, and within those connections came strength beyond imagination. Strength that would guide them both home through whatever challenges they faced on this journey ahead. As the bond between Tommy and the wild horse deepened, a soft snort escaped the horse's nostrils, breaking the stillness of the twilight air. It was a gentle sound, almost like a quiet invitation. The horse took a step back and looked over its shoulder at Tommy, its warm eyes gleaming in the fading light. In that moment, Tommy sensed that this magnificent creature was inviting him to join it on a journey through the mysterious woods. Tommy hesitated for just a heartbeat, glancing around the darkening forest. Shadows stretched and danced among the trees, but instead of fear, he felt a surge of courage swell within him. The wild horse seemed to embody everything he wished to be: bold, free, and unafraid of what lay ahead. He realized that trusting this horse could lead him to safety and potentially help him find his way home. With newfound determination, Tommy took a step forward. "I'll follow you," he said softly, almost to reassure himself as much as the horse. As if understanding his words, the wild horse nodded slightly and began to walk away slowly down one of the narrow trails that twisted through the trees. Tommy's heart raced with excitement as he trailed behind. The path was dimly lit by the last rays of sunlight filtering through the branches above, creating an enchanting scene filled with mystery. Each step he took echoed softly in the quiet woods, blending with the rustle of leaves and distant chirps of night creatures waking from their slumber. The horse moved gracefully through the underbrush, expertly navigating around roots and rocks, as if it had traveled these paths countless times before. Tommy couldn't help but admire how confident it was. Every stride seemed purposeful and strong. Following closely behind, he felt a sense of purpose growing within himself as well. As they ventured deeper into the forest together, Tommy stole glances at his new companion. The wild horse's flowing mane caught glimpses of moonlight now piercing through gaps in the canopy above. It was mesmerizing. Each flicker seemed to dance like silver ribbons in the night air. He felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over him. This was not just any journey, it was one filled with promise. After walking for some time in silence, Tommy began to notice changes in their surroundings. The air felt cooler against his skin, and faint sounds lulled him into calmness. The dark woods were alive with soft whispers from unseen creatures hidden among thick foliage. Yet with every sound came reassurance. He knew he wasn't alone anymore. The wild horse paused occasionally to let Tommy catch up or to sniff at interesting plants along their path. Each time it looked back at him with those gentle eyes, it reminded him that they were connected, that they were both searching for something amidst uncertainty. Finally, after what felt like ages, yet only moments at once, they reached a small clearing illuminated by moonlight, where wildflowers bloomed in riotous colors under a blanket of stars above. It was breathtaking, a magical sight that made Tommy gasp in wonder. "Wow," he breathed out softly as he took in this hidden treasure tucked away within the woods. The wild horse stood calmly beside him, as if sharing in his awe at this breathtaking moment. In that serene setting bathed in moonlight and surrounded by nature's beauty, Tommy realized something profound. Although they had started this adventure feeling lost and alone, together they had forged an incredible connection filled with trust and companionship, a bond that would carry them forward into whatever awaited them on this journey homeward through darkness toward light once more. As Tommy and the wild horse continued their journey through the woods, the path began to transform into something extraordinary. The air was thick with magic, and the forest breathed around them, filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant calls of night creatures. The horse confidently led Tommy along a hidden trail that seemed to glimmer in the darkness. Tommy followed closely, his heart racing with excitement as he noticed tiny flickers of light dancing in the air. At first, he thought it might be his imagination playing tricks on him. But as they ventured further, he realized they were fireflies, thousands of them illuminating the path like little stars fallen from the sky. Each one flickered and glowed, creating a magical atmosphere that turned the ordinary forest into an enchanting wonderland. The fireflies swirled around their legs as if welcoming them to this secret place that only the animals knew about. It was as if these tiny lights were guardians of the woods, guiding Tommy and his equine friend deeper into their world. Every gentle buzz brought a sense of joy to Tommy's heart, reminding him that he wasn't alone anymore. He had a companion by his side, and together they were discovering something truly special. The wild horse moved gracefully along this hidden path, its hooves barely making a sound against the soft earth. Tommy could hear the faint crackle of twigs underfoot as they traveled deeper into this ethereal realm. With each step they took, more fireflies seemed to join them, weaving a glowing tapestry around them, as if crafting a magical shield against any lingering fears from earlier in the night. "Look at all of them," Tommy exclaimed in awe, pointing at the dazzling display. The fireflies shimmered like constellations come to life, wrapping around him in an embrace of warmth and light. He laughed with pure delight as one of them landed gently on his outstretched hand. It flickered briefly before taking off again, joining its glowing companions overhead. The horse paused occasionally to take in their surroundings or nibble on tender grass growing by the trail. Each time it looked back at Tommy, he felt reassured by its steady presence. They shared this wonderful moment together, two friends exploring a world filled with wonder and beauty. As they journeyed further along the hidden path, Tommy started to realize that this adventure was more than just finding his way home. It was about connecting with nature and embracing every moment. The fireflies lit up not only their path, but also ignited a spark of hope within him, a feeling that reminded him life could be filled with unexpected joys and surprises. Every so often, a soft breeze would carry laughter from nearby streams or echoes of whispers from unseen animals tucked away in their cozy dens. Tommy felt alive among these sounds. They painted a vivid picture of life surrounding him in ways he had never noticed before during his previous adventures while playing with friends. Suddenly, as they emerged from under a thick canopy of trees, another breathtaking sight unfolded before them. A small pond shimmering under the moonlight like liquid silver. The edges were lined with wildflowers that danced softly in rhythm with the gentle night breeze. Fireflies floated above it, like tiny lanterns bobbing on a still sea. Tommy's eyes widened in wonderment. "This place is amazing," he declared, feeling overwhelmed by joy and gratitude for having followed this magnificent horse into such an extraordinary landscape. He realized then that their journey together had woven more than just a connection between boy and beast. It had forged memories full of magic that would last forever. Moments where fear transformed into joy, beneath twinkling lights, guiding them forward toward new adventures waiting just beyond their first step into friendship. Amidst darkness and uncertainty. As the night deepened and the moon rose high in the sky, a sense of unease settled over the small town of Willow Creek. Families, who had been enjoying their evening meals or settling down for the night, began to notice that Tommy was not home yet. His absence became more pronounced as the minutes turned into hours, and worry spread through the community like wildfire. Tommy's parents were among the first to realize something was wrong. When he didn't return from his adventure in the woods, they exchanged anxious glances at the dinner table. "He should have been back by now," his mother said, her voice trembling with concern. "He always comes home before dark." His father nodded gravely, standing up and heading toward the door. "I'll go look for him," he declared. The urgency in his tone was palpable. As he stepped outside, he called out to a few neighbors nearby, gathering their attention with a wave of his hand. Before long, word spread throughout Willow Creek that Tommy was missing. People began to gather in small groups at various points in town, each one brainstorming where he might be. "He loved exploring those woods," one neighbor remarked nervously. "What if he got lost?" Others echoed similar sentiments, their faces etched with worry. "Let's split up and search different areas," suggested Mrs. Green, one of Tommy's teachers who lived nearby. She had always cared deeply for her students and felt a sense of responsibility for Tommy's safety. The group quickly agreed, knowing they needed to act fast before darkness enveloped the entire forest. With flashlights in hand and hearts heavy with concern, the townspeople set off toward the woods where Tommy often played. Calling out his name echoed through the trees as they ventured deeper into the shadows. "Tommy, where are you?" Their voices rang out against the stillness of the night, but only silence answered back. The deeper into the woods they went, the more frantic their calls became. Some tried to reassure themselves by recalling how brave Tommy was. Surely he would find his way back soon. But doubt lingered in their minds as each minute passed without a sign of him. Meanwhile, back in the forest, under a canopy of stars and twinkling fireflies, Tommy continued to explore this magical landscape alongside his new friend, the wild horse that had become both guide and companion. They marveled at each new sight. The shimmering pond reflecting moonlight or clusters of flowers blooming around them, completely unaware of how much worry they had caused back home. As they wandered further along their hidden path, lined with glowing fireflies, Tommy felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over him. He was no longer just a lost boy. He was an explorer on an adventure filled with wonder. The world around him sparkled with possibilities. Every rustle of leaves carried whispers of magic waiting to be discovered. In stark contrast to this serene scene within nature's embrace, tension built among the townspeople, searching tirelessly for Tommy. Each shout pierced through branches like arrows as they desperately sought any sign that he might still be nearby. "Maybe we should head toward that clearing by Miller's Pond," suggested Mr. Thompson, a local farmer who often saw Tommy playing near water during warm days. "He loves it there." The group nodded in agreement and hurried toward that direction, hoping against hope that they would find him safe and sound. With every additional call echoing through the night air came another wave of anxiety among family members who waited anxiously at home. Fear mixed with hope as they clung to memories of laughter shared with their spirited little boy, their hearts yearning for nothing more than to see him return safely from this unexpected adventure through both darkness and light alike. As Tommy continued to explore the enchanting woods with the wild horse, he began to feel the weight of the night settling around them. The air grew cooler, and the gentle sounds of nature transformed into a symphony of nighttime melodies. It was then that he noticed how the fireflies began to flicker less frequently, their radiant glow dimming as darkness approached. The wild horse, sensing the change in atmosphere, paused and turned its head toward Tommy. Its dark eyes sparkled with a wisdom that seemed to say it was time to return. Tommy felt a surge of understanding. This creature had guided him through the magical landscape, and now it was ready to lead him back to safety. "Are you ready to go home?" Tommy asked softly, his voice filled with a mix of gratitude and anticipation. The horse snorted gently in response, and Tommy felt a rush of reassurance wash over him. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, trusting his newfound companion completely. With a graceful motion, the horse began to walk ahead along the path they had traveled before. Tommy followed closely behind, feeling the bond between them strengthen with each step. The way back seemed different now. Familiar landmarks began to appear from the shadows as they journeyed onward. The tall trees that once felt intimidating now stood like old friends, guiding him through the darkness. As they moved deeper into the woods, Tommy recognized the rustling sound of leaves near a stream where he often played with his friends. The bubbling water glistened under the moonlight, and he remembered laughter echoing in this very spot. Hope blossomed in his heart as he realized he was getting closer to home. The path twisted and turned gently, illuminated by patches of moonlight breaking through the branches overhead. Each glimpse of silver light brought more familiar sights into view. The gnarled old oak tree he loved to climb, and the small clearing where wildflowers grew in abundance during spring. Every landmark sparked memories that filled him with warmth. "Look, there's Miller's Pond," Tommy exclaimed excitedly as they approached another familiar place. He could see the waters shimmering under the moonlight, reflecting stars like diamonds scattered on its surface. Just beyond the pond lay Willow Creek, and his heart raced at the thought of being reunited with his family. The wild horse continued forward confidently, leading Tommy closer to town. With each stride it took, he felt a growing sense of safety washing over him like a comforting blanket. The warm glow of home beckoned him nearer, reassuring him that everything would be all right. Finally, as they stepped out of the dense woods and onto a well-trodden path leading toward town, Tommy breathed a sigh of relief. He could see lights flickering in the distance, his neighbors' homes alight with warmth and life. Voices carried on the breeze, echoing laughter and conversations that filled his heart with joy. "Thank you," Tommy whispered to the wild horse as it turned to look at him one last time before stepping away into the shadows of the trees. He felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this incredible creature that had guided him through both fear and wonder. As he walked toward town, Tommy glanced back at the forest one last time, realizing it was no longer just a dark place filled with uncertainty, but rather a realm of adventure, magic, and friendship. He knew that this experience would stay with him forever, shaping who he was destined to become. Approaching his home, relief flooded over him as he spotted his parents and neighbors gathered near the edge of town, their faces lighting up with joy at his return. In that moment, he understood. He was not just returning home. He was bringing back stories filled with magic and lessons learned about courage, trust, and friendship along with him. As Tommy and the wild horse approached the edge of Willow Creek, excitement bubbled within him. The sight of familiar homes, their windows glowing warmly in the night, filled him with a sense of relief and joy. He could hear laughter and chatter wafting through the air, voices that reminded him of the safety and comfort of home. Just then, he spotted a group of figures moving nearby. Searchers. His heart raced even faster as he recognized some of his neighbors and friends among them. They were calling out his name, their faces marked with worry. "Tommy! Tommy!" Their voices echoed through the night, each call resonating in his chest like a beacon of hope. "Here I am!" Tommy shouted at the top of his lungs, waving his arms enthusiastically. The wild horse stood proudly beside him, its strong presence a testament to their shared adventure. "I'm back." The moment they saw him, the search party's worried expressions transformed into ones of relief and joy. His parents rushed forward, their eyes wide with disbelief and happiness. "Tommy!" his mother cried, tears glistening in her eyes as she sprinted towards him. His father followed closely behind, both arms open wide in an embrace that promised safety and love. The townspeople gathered around, their faces lighting up as they took in the sight of Tommy standing beside the wild horse. Whispers filled the air as they exchanged astonished glances, marveling at the incredible creature that had accompanied him back home. "Is that a wild horse?" Mrs. Green asked incredulously, her eyes sparkling with wonder. "Yes, it helped me find my way," Tommy exclaimed, beaming with pride. He could hardly contain his excitement as he recounted how the horse had guided him through the woods, illuminated by fireflies and filled with magical adventures. As he spoke, the crowd listened intently, captivated by his story. They gathered closer to hear every detail of how he had felt lost, but found comfort in the horse's presence. "I was scared at first," Tommy admitted, "but then I realized we were both lost in our own ways." He glanced at the horse, which stood calmly beside him, its gentle eyes surveying the joyful scene. The townspeople marveled at the bond that had formed between the boy and the horse. A friendship born from an unexpected adventure that would be remembered for years to come. "You were so brave, Tommy," one neighbor chimed in, pride evident in their voice. "And look how you've made a friend." Tommy smiled widely at the praise, but felt a twinge of humility wash over him. He knew that while he had faced uncertainty and fear during his journey, it was the wild horse that had truly guided him back to safety. "Thank you," Tommy whispered to the horse, reaching out to stroke its mane one last time. The creature nuzzled against his hand, as if acknowledging their special connection, before it turned to head back into the woods from where it had emerged. As it walked away into the shadows, Tommy felt a pang of sadness at its departure, but also a sense of gratitude for everything they had shared. He turned back toward his family and friends who surrounded him with warmth and love, ready to embrace this moment of reunion. With laughter echoing around him and a heart full of joy, Tommy realized he was not just returning home. He was bringing back stories filled with magic, courage, trust, and friendship. This adventure would forever be etched in his memory as a reminder that even in moments of uncertainty, help could come from unexpected places, and that sometimes the wildest journeys lead us right back to where we belong. As the townspeople gathered around Tommy, their hearts filled with relief and wonder, they couldn't help but marvel at the wild horse standing proudly beside him. Its powerful frame and gentle demeanor captivated everyone, drawing them closer with each passing moment. The sight of such a magnificent creature brought gasps of awe from the crowd. They had heard stories about wild horses roaming the nearby woods, but to see one up close was an extraordinary experience. "Is that really a wild horse?" Mrs. Green asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I've never seen one so close before." The townsfolk exchanged excited glances, their worries slowly fading away as they focused on the beautiful animal that had played such a crucial role in bringing their beloved Tommy home. Tommy stood beaming with pride next to the horse, feeling a rush of gratitude for his brave companion. "Yes, this horse helped me find my way back," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he recounted his adventure. He shared how the horse guided him through the dark woods, illuminated by fireflies and filled with magical sights. With each word he spoke, the townspeople listened intently, captivated by his tale. Tommy described how the horse sensed his fear and offered comfort in ways he had never imagined possible. "We were both lost at first," he admitted, "but we found our way together." As he spoke, the crowd nodded in understanding, recognizing the bond that had formed between the boy and the wild horse. Moved by Tommy's story, the townspeople began to express their gratitude toward the noble creature. "Thank you for bringing him home safely," one neighbor said softly, reaching out to stroke the horse's mane. Others quickly followed suit, whispering words of appreciation and admiration. "You are truly brave," another added. "What a wonderful friend you have been to Tommy." The wild horse seemed to bask in their kindness, standing tall among the people who had gathered around it. Its calm demeanor reassured everyone that it was not just a magnificent animal, but also a protector who had watched over Tommy during his time of need. They could see that this horse embodied strength and grace, reminding them of the beauty of nature that thrived around them. As Tommy continued sharing details of his journey, the shimmering pond under moonlight and the magical atmosphere filled with fireflies, the townspeople's amazement grew. They realized that this encounter was more than a simple rescue. It was a reminder of how interconnected their lives were with nature. Eventually, Tommy stepped forward, looking at the wild horse with heartfelt gratitude. "Thank you for everything," he whispered as he reached out once more to caress its soft muzzle. The horse turned its head slightly towards him in acknowledgement, forming an unspoken bond that would last long after this night. As night fully enveloped Willow Creek, families began to disperse, but not before exchanging smiles and warm words with one another. Relief flooding every heart as they celebrated Tommy's safe return. The adventure had strengthened not only Tommy's spirit, but also brought the community closer together. "Let's make sure we keep an eye on our little adventurer from now on," Mr. Thompson joked lightly amidst laughter while ruffling Tommy's hair affectionately. With warmth and laughter echoing in his heart, Tommy realized that this adventure was about more than just getting lost. It was about discovering friendship, bravery, and kindness along the way. He knew that even as life returned to normalcy in Willow Creek, this remarkable experience and his incredible bond with the wild horse would forever be cherished memories woven into his heart distinctly, like threads of gold in fabric. The following day dawned bright and clear, bathing Willow Creek in golden sunlight. As families came together to share stories over breakfast, the air buzzed with excitement and relief from Tommy's safe return. He could hardly wait to recount his adventure to his friends, eager to share every detail of the wild horse that had guided him home. After breakfast, he gathered with his friends on the green where they often played. The laughter and chatter filled the air as they joined in a circle on the grass. "You won't believe what happened to me yesterday," Tommy began, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. The group quieted down, leaning in closer, their faces filled with anticipation. "I was exploring in the woods when I got lost," he shared, watching their expressions shift from innocent curiosity to concern. "But then I met this incredible wild horse." His friends gasped collectively, their eyes wide with amazement. "A wild horse?" one of them exclaimed. "What was it like?" Tommy grinned, his heart swelling with pride as he described the horse's beauty. Its shimmering chestnut coat, flowing mane, and gentle eyes that seemed to understand him. He animatedly recounted how the horse had appeared just when he needed it most, offering comfort in his moment of fear. It felt like we were both lost but found each other, he explained, reliving the magic of their bond. As he spoke, his friends listened intently, completely absorbed in his tale. Tommy described how the horse had led him along a hidden path lit by thousands of fireflies, creating a dazzling spectacle under the night sky. He recalled how they encountered shimmering ponds and vibrant flowers that seemed to illuminate their journey. "That sounds amazing," another friend said, wide-eyed with wonder. "Did you ride it?" Tommy chuckled softly, shaking his head. "No, but I walked beside it as it guided me home." He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his experience sink in. "It taught me that sometimes help comes from unexpected places, and we just have to trust." As he spoke those words, Tommy realized that this adventure had changed him in ways he hadn't fully understood yet. He had stepped into the unknown, not only physically, but emotionally as well. Trusting the wild horse allowed him to embrace courage and resilience within himself. His friends nodded in agreement, inspired by Tommy's bravery. "You were really brave to follow a wild horse," one of them said with admiration. "I don't think I could do that." Tommy smiled at their encouragement, but felt a twinge of humility wash over him. "It wasn't just me. The horse was there too," he replied earnestly. "We helped each other." As they continued sharing stories and laughter under the warm sun, Tommy felt grateful for the bond he now had, not only with the wild horse, but also with his friends and family who supported him back home. He knew that while adventures were thrilling, having those he loved by his side made them all the more meaningful. Later that afternoon, Tommy decided to visit the edge of the woods, where his journey had begun. With his friends trailing behind him eagerly, they approached the spot where he first met the wild horse. There was a sense of reverence in the air as they stood silently for a moment. "Maybe we'll see it again someday," one friend suggested hopefully. "Maybe," Tommy responded with a smile, looking out into the trees. "But even if we don't, I'll always remember this adventure and everything I learned." With renewed confidence and a heart full of gratitude, Tommy realized that he had not only rediscovered himself through this experience, but also deepened his understanding of friendship and trust. Both with others and within himself, they spent hours playing and exploring near the woods, knowing that whatever awaited them in life's adventures ahead would be faced together, full of courage and a sense of wonder sparked by an unforgettable journey through darkness toward light. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow across Willow Creek, Tommy gathered with his friends and family at the park to celebrate his safe return. Laughter filled the air, echoing with joy as everyone shared stories and relished the sense of community that had strengthened during his absence. Yet, as he watched the sun's rays dance through the leaves and illuminate the faces of those he loved, Tommy felt a deeper reflection stirring in his heart. He thought about how easily his adventure could have turned into a tale of worry and fear had it not been for the wild horse that emerged from the shadows. The creature had offered him companionship when he felt most alone, and in turn, it had taught him an invaluable lesson about trust. Not just in others, but also in himself. Life's twists and turns were unpredictable, and sometimes surprising friendships emerged from unexpected places. "Who would have thought a wild horse could lead me home?" Tommy mused aloud, drawing curious glances from his friends. "It really showed me that we can find guidance in nature, no matter how lost we feel." His eyes sparkled with excitement as he recalled their journey through the woods, illuminated by fireflies and vibrant memories. His friends nodded in agreement, reflecting on their own experiences. I never thought of nature that way, one replied thoughtfully. Sometimes I think of it as just a background, another chimed in. But maybe there's more to discover if we're willing to look. Tommy smiled, delighted by their enthusiasm. Exactly. The wild horse was my guide. But I believe we all have our own paths to uncover. Sometimes it takes getting lost to truly appreciate what's around us and who is willing to help. The warmth of friendship enveloped them as they exchanged ideas about bravery and kindness in the world. Tommy realized that although he had faced uncertainty in the woods alone, he now understood that he would never have to face challenges without support from those around him. The wild horse had rekindled a sense of courage within him, showing him that it's okay to ask for help and rely on friends during difficult moments. As twilight approached, Tommy led his group toward the edge of the woods, where he had first met the wild horse. The trees rose majestically overhead, their branches swaying gently in the breeze like friendly giants greeting them back. "This is where it all began," he said, glancing back at his friends, who looked at the forest with newfound appreciation. With hearts full of gratitude, the group stood together in silence for a moment, reflecting on their connection to nature and each other. The lessons Tommy learned in the woods extended beyond just his adventure. They touched everyone around him. It reminded them that life is filled with surprises waiting to unfold, even in familiar places. "I wonder if we'll ever see that horse again," one friend asked hopefully. "Maybe," Tommy replied with a grin. "But even if we don't, we can carry its spirit with us, its bravery and kindness." The night fell over Willow Creek softly, stars beginning to twinkle against the velvet sky above. As they walked back toward town, Tommy felt renewed purpose blossoming within him. He understood now that friendships could come from unexpected places, like wild horses or the kindness of someone you might not know well. Life's adventures might lead each of them down different paths, but they would navigate through both light and shadow together, with every step toward home filled with laughter and hope. Tommy resolved to cherish not only his bond with nature, but also the friends who walked alongside him on this remarkable journey of life. A journey where magic could be found even when feeling lost.